Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one. The introduction. In the small town of Ravenswood, a place where secrets lingered like fog on the river, the first hints of trouble appeared on an otherwise ordinary Tuesday. Nestled in the heart of an expansive forest, Ravenswood was characterized by its quaint homes, friendly neighbors, and amidst it all, a singular, looming darkness that had yet to reveal itself. As dawn broke, the sun cast a muted light across the cobblestone streets, illuminating the shop fronts but failing to pierce the heavy atmosphere. At the edge of town, where the wooded hills met the fading remnants of civilization, a young girl named Lily Turner, 13 years old with a penchant for adventure, vanished without a trace. Her laughter, once a familiar melody echoing through the streets, was now an unsettling silence. The last sighting of Lily was around 4 p.m. near the old railway tracks, abandoned for decades, yet still a place of intrigue for local children. As darkness fell, panic spread through Ravenswood like wildfire, igniting concern and desperation. Police sirens wailed through the night, punctuating what was meant to be a peaceful evening. Neighbors gathered, casting anxious glances towards each other, whispering suspicions, while searchlights swept through the dense underbrush, failing to uncover any clue. Unbeknownst to them, the fabric of their community would soon be forever altered. The feeling of safety that had nestled in Ravenswood's air began to suffocate, and dread took its place as a search for truth spiraled into a night filled with uncertainty and fear. The victim. Lily Turner was not just another face in the crowd. She was the heartbeat of Ravenswood, a vibrant spirit infused with curiosity and kindness. With dark chestnut curls framing her freckled face and a bright smile that could light up even the gloomiest of days, she was known for her adventurous outings in the wilderness surrounding her home. Her laughter, often heard trailing behind short bursts of energy, was infectious, echoing off the trees in the nearby woods as she explored with friends. The daughter of Thomas and Rebecca Turner, Lily was both an artist and an athlete. Mornings were filled with scribbles in her sketchbook under the sprawling oak tree, while afternoons were spent whizzing past the neighbors on her bicycle, exploring every hidden pathway that crisscrossed through the town. The cherished charm of small-town life had adorned her upbringing. Every child had a story woven into the fabric of the community, and for Lily, each day was a new adventure waiting to unfold. Her school friends described her as fearless, a girl who could climb the tallest trees, with a knack for finding treasures where others found only debris. "You can always count on Lily to lift your spirits," said Clara, one of her closest companions, her voice heavy with sorrow. As search teams combed through the woods and neighboring fields, Clara and the others were left reeling, trying to piece together the last moments they had spent with her. The stark reality that lingered in the air was undeniable. Lily was missing, and with her disappearance, a piece of Ravenswood's soul had been taken. The warmth of their community felt chilled, shrouded by a growing shadow of fear that would soon consume them all. The crime scene. As the first light of dawn broke on Wednesday morning, it revealed a world tinged with unease. The search for Lily Turner intensified, leading local law enforcement to the old railway tracks, a place long abandoned, yet rich with echoes of history. Weeds grew stubbornly through the cracked wooden ties, and rusting metal entwined itself with nature's relentless grip, a place perfect for a girl with a vivid imagination, but not for finding a missing child. Detective Sarah Reynolds, a seasoned investigator with 20 years of experience, arrived on the scene, her brow furrowed in concentration. The air was crisp and carried a sense of urgency, punctuated by the murmur of officers and volunteers. As she surveyed the area, she noticed how the sunlight struggled to penetrate the canopy of trees, casting eerie shadows across the terrain. With a wave of her hand, she organized the search teams, keen on keeping chaos at bay. The ground was marked with remnants of recent activity, discarded candy wrappers, a sock lost in the underbrush, and an unmade campfire, still faintly warm from the night before. It pulled at the heartstrings of the lawman, an unsettling notion that Lily had been here, enjoying one of her many adventures. From the sketches penned in her notebook back home, it became tragic that a young girl's boundless spirit now posed an ominous question. A few yards away, an officer called out, drawing Sarah's attention to a set of footprints, partially clouded by a light layer of dew. They appeared to head further into the trees, suggesting signs of movement, a clue, perhaps. With a shiver creeping down her spine, Sarah knelt beside the prints, examining them closely. The sun rose higher, illuminating the darkness in the wood, but failing to eradicate the tension that hung palpably in the air. Something sinister lingered just beyond the tree line, waiting to be uncovered. The early investigation. In the days following Lily Turner's disappearance, Ravenswood was transformed into a swirling hub of activity. Detectives and search teams flooded the town, their presence a stark reminder of the unsettling reality that had befallen this once peaceful community. Detective Sarah Reynolds, determined to piece together the fragments of this enigmatic puzzle, conducted interviews with neighbors, classmates, and family members, gathering intel, while the clock ticked relentlessly onward. At the Turner home, the atmosphere was suffocating, burdened by a fog of fear and uncertainty. Thomas and Rebecca sat huddled together in the living room, their expressions etched with worry and despair. Sarah approached them with empathy, careful to tread lightly amidst the raw emotions. "We need to understand Lily's world," she stated softly. "Every detail matters." As the couple recounted Lily's recent activities, they inadvertently revealed small clues. Lily had mentioned a new friend, someone she'd met at school, and spoken excitedly about an abandoned treehouse in the woods that she longed to explore. While the remaining silence was palpable, Sarah noted every word, piecing together a developing narrative steeped in innocence that bordered dangerously on teenage adventure. Concurrent to the interviews, officers scoured digital footprints, social media accounts, text messages, and any online interaction. What seemed like mundane exchanges quickly transformed into lead after lead, offering glimpses into insecurities and friendships unobserved by parents. A particular thread caught Sarah's attention, one about the old treehouse, which set off alarms within her seasoned instincts. As twilight fell over Ravenswood, the atmosphere thickened, laden with hope and trepidation. Yet, the more they uncovered, the more they realized that Lily's disappearance might not stem solely from the innocent whimsy of a child lost in play, but rather from something much darker, lurking just beneath the surface. The dead ends. As the investigation progressed, hope began to fray at the seams. The first week passed without a trace of Lily Turner, and every lead that had emerged seemed to lead to a brick wall. Detective Sarah Reynolds sat at her cluttered desk, tall stacks of investigation files looming over her like ghosts. Each entry imprinted on her time spent interviewing classmates who'd played with Lily, parents who'd observed her joy, and even strangers who happened to be in the vicinity on that fateful day. But optimism waned with every hour that ticked by. The old treehouse, initially viewed as a beacon of promise, yielded no significant evidence. Searches through its rickety framework revealed nothing but splintered wood and the reminders of long-gone childhood. The woods surrounding it had been scoured, but the wear of the underbrush told a different story. No signs of struggle, no hints of a hurried escape. The more the teams dug, the more unyielding the ground felt, as though it conspired against them. Conversations with Lily's classmates led to conflicting stories that only heaped confusion upon the investigation. Some spoke of a new friend named Jason, only to later admit they weren't sure if he ever existed. The elusive figure cast shadows of doubt, whispers of teenage drama, jealousy, and secrets lingering beneath the surface. It was hard to discern reality from the whims of youthful imagination. With every dead end, the echo of hope grew fainter. Sarah felt the burden of responsibility, knowing that a child was out there, possibly frightened and alone. Each piece of the puzzle that fell through her fingers, heightening her sense of urgency. The stark realization crashed over her. Time was not just a witness to this tragedy, it was becoming the enemy. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow across the town, the weight of despair deepened. Sarah steeled herself for another sleepless night, wondering if this town could truly accept the grim truth that it might not find its brightest star. A break in the case. Just as some began to lose hope, a glimmer of light broke through the murky haze enveloping Ravens. It came in the form of an unexpected Tepa local resident, Janet Collins, reported suspicious activity she had observed near the abandoned railway tracks just days prior to Lily's disappearance. The community, exhausted but eager for answers, hung on to every word she spoke. Sarah Reynolds listened intently as Janet described seeing a group of teenagers congregating near the tracks in the twilight hour. She recalled the sounds of laughter preceding an unsettling quiet that seemed to settle over the area, a stark contrast to the usual playfulness that permeated their summer evenings. When Janet dug deeper into her memory, she mentioned a newcomer in town, a boy named Jason, who had moved in with his uncle just a few weeks before Lily vanished. Armed with this new evidence, Sarah wasted no time. She gathered a team and quickly located Jason's home. Memories of the previous interviews flooded back. The elusive name had echoed through the hallways of the local high school, but remained like a specter, only half formed. Now he had taken shaping, intriguing link between the shadows of uncertain relationships and the disappearance of a lively girl. As they questioned Jason, Sarah kept her demeanor calm, carefully gauging his reactions. Underneath the youthful bravado lay anxiousness, a flicker of guilt perhaps, as he described playing with friends near the railway tracks. The question of whether he was innocent or hiding something surged through Sarah's mind. She pressed him for details, probing gently yet firmly, weaving together elements of his story with the fragmented accounts they'd gathered previously. The encounter sparked something within Sarah. A renewed sense of determination swelled amid the still air. The scent of fresh leads was intoxicating, invigorating the investigation anew as the notion of justice loomed closer than it ever seemed. If only they could unearth the truth buried beneath layers of youthful bravado and dark secrets. The suspect. Following the unsettling conversation with Jason, Detective Sarah Reynolds knew the investigation had crossed an ominous threshold. The glimmers of hope she'd clung to transformed rapidly into a chilling reality. As the sun set over Ravenswood, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch and curl like fingers reaching for truth, The young boy's unease haunted her thoughts. The more she delved into Jason's life, the more it began to feel like a web woven with both innocence and deception. Sarah's team worked diligently to piece together Jason's history. They discovered that he'd moved to Ravenswood after a series of family upheavals, each one marked by instability and discontent. Friends described him as moody, occasionally exhibiting aggressive behavior, when provoked traits that could turn dark when mixed with the tumultuous landscape of adolescence. The more the investigators uncovered, the more Jason's once harmless presence morphed into something unnerving. It didn't take long for them to track down his alibi for the day of Lily's disappearance. It fell apart like a house of cards as they interviewed those who had supposedly been with him. Muffled whispers suggested he'd been missing during crucial hours, an unsettling detail surfacing like a stone dredged from the deep. Together with Sarah's mounting unease, his behavior fidgeting excessively and avoiding eye contact began to paint a concerning picture. In a powerful moment, Sarah and her team decided to confront Jason again, this time armed with the weight of their findings. They were resolute, lighting a fire behind their words, forcing him to confront the darkness that loomed within them both. As they pressed on him to uncover the truth, Jason's facade began to crack. The questions felt like arrows, piercing through the layers he had so carefully constructed around himself. In that dim room, an electric tension filled the air, ripe with suspicion. As Sarah looked into his eyes, she knew they were now teetering on the knife's edge between innocence and unimaginable guilt. Was Jason hiding something? Or was he merely a confused boy, caught in a web larger than himself? The answer rested just out of reach, buried beneath layers of fear and complex emotion. The trial. Months passed since the fateful day that marked the beginning of Ravenswood's unraveling. The community, once vibrant and unified, now lay fractured and haunted by Lily Turner's disappearance. With Jason Wright as the prime suspect, the echo of his name served as a bitter constant in the local discourse, a shared struggle embodying the complexity of a child caught in a storm of confusion and blame. As the trial commenced, the courtroom was filled with a mosaic of faces, family, friends, and strangers drawn together by the same thread of grief and a yearning for justice. Sarah Reynolds sat quietly among them, her presence a reassuring pillar of steadfast resolve. The air was thick with tension. Every rustle of papers, every whisper in the pews seemed amplified against the high ceilings. The prosecution painted a stark narrative, laying out the threads of evidence witness testimonies, linking Jason to the scene, the unraveling of his alibi, and the psychological profiling suggesting deeper issues. They argued that Jason's erratic behavior indicated a potential predisposition towards perverse tendencies, drawing sobering conclusions from a patchwork of teenage aggression that now held devastating consequences. On the other side, the defense crafted a counter-narrative, portraying Jason as a vulnerable boy, struggling to adapt to a tumultuous life shaped by upheaval and strife. They highlighted discrepancies in testimonies and sought to humanize him, pleading with the jury to see past labels and realize that he too was a victim of circumstance. As days turned into a blur, emotions ebbed and flowed, fueled by hope and despair. The enormity of delivering a verdict weighed heavily on the jury's shoulders, each member battling with their convictions against the backdrop of a fractured community, desperately seeking resolution. Then, finally came the moment of truth. The courtroom fell silent as the foreperson stood, ready to deliver the verdict that would forever alter the lives of those in attendance. The collective breath of Ravenswood held tightly to the murmur of uncertainty, praying for clarity amidst the chaos. In that single instant, wrapped in a palpable anticipation, the quest for justice collided with the fragile threads, offering a glimpse into the delicate balance between innocence and guilt that grows more complex with each passing moment. The aftermath, the verdict reverberated through the community like an earthquake, shaking the very foundations of Ravenswood. Jason Wright was found guilty, a determination that would forever etch his name in the annals of the small town's history. Sentenced to a juvenile facility, the answer to Lily's fate felt both definitive and disheartening. While the immediate battle for justice had been won, questions still loomed like dark clouds overhead. As the news spread, an atmosphere of bitter victory settled over Ravenswood. The Turners, grappling with the weight of their loss, found little solace in the outcome of the trial. No amount of punishment could bring back their daughter or mend the deep-seated pain that had replaced joyful memories. Thomas and Rebecca clung to each other, navigating their grief like a ship lost at sea, their sails filled with sorrow as they struggled to find a new course. Detective Sarah Reynolds, too, felt the heavy burden of the case outcome. She'd entered the investigation fueled by the will to protect and serve, to safeguard a child's innocence. But she exited with the stark reality that justice hadn't necessarily equated to closure. Ravenswood's shadows lingered longer than expected, weaving a fabric of distrust among its residents. A ripple effect spread throughout the town, with whispers hanging heavy and relationships fraying. Parents began to pull their children closer, fostering insular environments where fear eclipsed freedom. In the weeks that followed, more families made plans to leave the town. Ravenswood, once a sanctuary for joyful living, had become tainted, marked by dread and uncertainty. Yet, amid the bleakness, a small candle of resilience flickered. Community meetings emerged, convening those willing to share their grief, upholding Lily's memory as a rallying point. They shared stories of kindness, art, laughter, and adventure, preserving the essence of the girl who had slipped through their fingers. Slowly, the town began to heal, creating a foundation to address mental health and safety, ensuring that no child would find themselves lost in the woods again. The road ahead remained fraught with fragility, but together, the resilient hearts of Ravenswood started to weave a new story on, where vigilance, coupled with empathy, might one day reclaim their collective spirit. Reflection. In the wake of the trial and its verdict, the remnants of the past weighed heavy on the hearts of Ravenswood's residents. Days turned into weeks, and seasons shifted as the town grappled with its identity. Sitting in the fading warmth of autumn, Detective Sarah Reynolds surveyed the familiar streets that had once buzzed with laughter, now muted by whispers and wary glances. The reflection upon these tumultuous months brought a flurry of emotions relief, mingled with sadness, and a call to action intertwined with lingering despair. Sarah, reflecting back on her journey from the moment she first entered the case, felt the impact of innocence lost and the complexities of human nature. There were no clear villains here, just lives forever altered by a series of unfortunate choices, ignorance, and evanescent moments of childhood. Even in light of the devastation, she recognized the resilience rippling through the community. They were beginning to stitch together the wounds, honoring Lily's vibrant spirit with every act of kindness, every effort invested in ensuring safety and awareness for their children. Vigilant conversations had started, laying foundational groundwork for the future. Education and empathy reigned where mistrust had spread. And as she walked through the heart of Ravenswood, adorned with its collective scars, yet grasping at newfound hope, Sarah understood the power of unity in darkness. Healing was a process, and as the crisp air signaled the approach of winter, a shared determination surged in the quiet corners of the town. They would reclaim what was lost, not just in memory, but in action. Each stepped forward, honoring a little girl whose laughter once danced through the woods.